Frequently, when the Lord is going to really move strongly, I get attacked before I ever get to the place I'm going. Anyone? So I hate to call that a sign of his moving and he's going to do great things, but he's going to do great things anyways, whether I'm aware of it or not. But so now the power of the Lord is now starting to move across the land, and he's starting to invest in people. Anyone notice that? And he's beginning to awaken things in us. And one of the things that I always have, gifts of the Spirit, I think that's amazing and I love it. There's only one catch. It isn't what he meant for us to be doing, is slinging a gift of the Spirit around. Does anybody know that? I know it kind of messes up our whole ministry concept, but what is supposed to happen is we're supposed to pour those things back out onto the one who gave them and let him call it when he wants it, for when he and who he wants it on. Does that make sense? That's called investing in your talent. No? Did you ever heard that? You know the story of Jesus speaking to his disciples. He said, the master of the land went away. He gave 3 servants, one servant 5 talents, one servant 2, and one servant 1. Do you remember that? Everybody remembers it? It's good. Okay. So the guy who had 5 talents invested in his talent. And the one with 2 talents invested in his. The one with 5 had 10. The one with 2 had 4. The one with 1 buried it. Too many of us are burying the 1 talent we have. A little afraid because it's not a lot. So the guy comes back, the master comes back, the guy with 5 talents, said, here, master, I have 10 talents. The master says, wonderful. The master takes all 10. Servant doesn't have 10 talents anymore. He's got none. But he was then, here I give you authority over land, good and faithful servant. The secret to the time we're coming into is authority over the land. There's no scripture that says we're supposed to have authority over each other. Uh-oh. In fact, Jesus, when his disciples said, hey, who's going to sit on your right and left? And Jesus mentions, the Gentiles, most of us, lord of their authority over each other, but that's not that way with you. Who would be first would be last. Guy with 2 talents had 4, and his master came back and said, hey, you got 4 talents. He didn't differentiate between the 10 and the 4. He just said, great, takes the 4. He gives him authority over the land too. That's called taking the land. The one with 1 talent buried it, and he says this very wonderful comment. I knew you were a master who reaps where he doesn't sow. So I buried your talent. So the master said, well, you could have invested it and gain interest from it. And that's the least that you can do with your talent, is to gain interest from it. I've been in the gifts business for a long time. The more gifted we hoped, the more famous you got. I know the famous business really well. But then we began to put people's voices and their instruments into computers, and you no longer had to be actually gifted. The computer could make you gifted sounding. So we really don't even know what we're listening to anymore, because for the most part, computer has fixed anything that would have identified a lesser talent or a lesser gift. So what we've decided to do is to end around God's version of this is how it works. If I invest in you talents and you invest in your talents and then give them back to your master, I will release authority upon you on the land so that you can speak over a city and say, be saved, and watch the salvations break out.